What's going on, you rogues, rebels, rapscallions, and renegades? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Rogue Country Podcast. I am Mike West, and today we have the legendary Chris Dover on. We're going to get into his album, but first, let's talk about some things. The response for the Ags Connolly episode, which dropped 2 weeks ago, has been phenomenal, and you can still back his Kickstarter. He's got $5,000 left to make for the next 20 odd days, and we need you to go back it. Go listen to the previous episode with Ags where we get into the Kickstarter, his future music, and his amazing plans. There is a link for the Kickstarter in those. I will drop another link in this one as well, just because I truly believe in Ags and think this record should get made, and we need your support to make it happen. Chris Dover is on the show today. He is a phenomenal musician I've been lucky enough to call a friend. We met over the pandemic online. We get into it in the episode, and he's a great guy. I've got to do a few shows with him, and in October, me, Chris, Josh Bettis, Cold Hands, Ashley Harding, and Jody Davis from Fargo Railroad are hitting the road for a super quick 3-day tour on October the 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's October the 14th in Nottingham, October 15th in Sheffield, and October 16th in Bradford. Joining us on October 14th in Nottingham is Cold Hands and Ashley Harding with myself and Chris. Jody has had to drop out of that date because of him opening for Hasty Dixie with Fargo Railroad Company, which is going to be a phenomenal show down in London. But yeah, we've got Nottingham with us. Then in Sheffield on Saturday the 15th of October, Jody is joining us, so it's myself, Jody, Chris, and Josh Bettis. And then in Bradford on the 16th, we've got myself, Chris, and Jody. This is a little 3-day run that I cannot be more excited to play with these guys. You know, they're my mates. It's going to be an amazing thing. I'm just a fan of theirs, so I can't wait to just sit on stage and listen to these songs and stories. So get your tickets for the Rogues and the Rounds. Sheffield, it's £10. And for Nottingham and Bradford, it's completely free entry, so the only reason you don't have to go is because you don't like us. Also coming up, Nick Shoulders and Grave Dancer are touring across the UK in November. Tour dates are available now on their profiles, and I am opening for them at the York in Bolton. And not only am I opening for them, Josh Bettis is opening for them as well in Swansea in the Bunkhouse. And it's going to be phenomenal, so get your tickets now for what is going to be one of the most amazing tours to hit the UK shores in a while. Nick is completely underrated over in the UK, and he should be playing massive venues, but he isn't for this tour only. I know he's going to blow up after this, so you need to get your tickets. Chris Dover released his album It's a Difficult World this year, and he's going to be creating new music that will be out next year. He's a phenomenal songwriter. I don't call him the UK's Guy Clark lightly. I truly believe that, and this was an amazing conversation with someone that was well overdue. So without further ado, this is episode 53 of the Rogue Country Podcast with Mike West and Chris Dover.
What's that? There we go. Got it right.
Cool. So yeah. So I can't record you sneakily and, you know, publish it without anyone's consent.
Do people do that shit? Well, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, like Josh says, if there's a warning on something, it's because people have done it. So someone at some point has recorded someone through Zoom, and it's been a nefarious thing.
That's fucking appalling. People suck.
There's always an abuse of technology. But that leads me on to perfectly. Is it a difficult world, Chris?
Fucking hell. That's heavy to start with. No, you've caught me in a really positive time. I'm like weirdly in a really positive place at the minute. So yeah. When I wrote that song, yeah. But no, it's bad. How much depth do you want to go into about what?
We've got an hour, man. You said you don't know what we're going to talk about. That's why I opened with this conversation, because we could easily fill a day on this topic.
Yeah, I think it depends what context you're asking. I think I wrote the song about my difficulty in terms of trying to find my way kind of in the Americana scene in this country, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. Yeah. And also a little bit of the way we're expected to create content and promote things in the way we are. And there's like almost a status quo of how you're supposed to do releases and things like that, which I've never really got on board with. So yeah, but in general, I don't think it's a difficult world. Like I say, I'm in quite a positive space at the minute, so
yeah, No, sick, man. We'll get back to, because I want to know more about your positive space. But I think, especially what you're talking about, like with the creation of content and the release schedule, especially, there's been stuff I've been watching where, the industry standard of you release on Fridays and shit. What's the point? At our level and at an independent musician's level, you should be doing the opposite of what the industry is doing in terms of releasing music. Because
that's it.
there's no way you can... Like today, what we talked about this before. You've got Nicki Lane's new albums just come out, Jason D. West, however many other albums have just come out on Friday. Yeah. Release on a Wednesday, release on a Tuesday. If you've got a small enough audience that they're gonna listen to it anyway, release on a different day.
That's it. I think Banjo Jen did that with her EP, if I remember rightly. The latest one she dropped on a Thursday or something.
Yeah,
but it's like you said. I think it's being realistic with. Who is it you're aiming at?
Yeah.
Because it's like, for me, I'm not looking to get the...
you're not fighting for a Rolling Stone cover or...
Exactly. It's like, I'm kind of going, well, actually, the people that are into my music, I know will check it out regardless. So I say that I did release my album on a Friday. Yeah. But now I'm kind of thinking about it. You're absolutely right that at the level we're at, it's like your fans are going to listen to it anyway, So... And that's, I suppose that whole construct of how to release and stuff just to get numbers on your Spotify playlists and chart placements and things to talk about, which I get the chart placement thing gives you more content to talk about. I have no issue with anyone that pursues that avenue. There's extra promo in the end of the day if that's what you want to do. But for me, it's, what are you doing it for? Because for me, I'm doing it just to put my songs out. And I'm quite comfortable with my place in the world these days. It's like I'm quite comfortable with, I play with and I'm friends with the artists that I want to be associated with. And I kind of try not to let the negative aspects kind of creep in, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my attitude to the music industry is the same attitude I have to the entire universe. Where, there's that saying where in one pocket, you're meant to have a piece of paper that says, I'm a speck of dust. And in the other pocket, you're meant to have a piece of paper that says, I'm the center of the universe. And it's meant to be, in which situation, which bit of paper to read to remind yourself with. And to think that the universe or the music industry or whatever pond you're swimming in gives a fuck about you at any point.
It's funny. It was funny. I was having this conversation. I was doing a session with Jackson Lake yesterday, doing some guitar for him, and I was having this conversation about kind of the amount of work he puts into what he does, and that's he does do the chart thing and the promo thing. But I came across a bit of a realization with him when I said, well, at the point, I literally went, okay, I don't fucking care about jumping through the hoops anymore. I'm quite happy where I am. I just want to put my songs out into the world and kind of, if they're good enough, they'll get where, I always say to my missus, they'll get where they're supposed to be, whether that's now or in 20, 30 years from now or whatever, they'll be out in the world. And that's kind of write my songs, put them out, and people that like them get on board with them, and people that don't, that's fine. Go find something else to listen to. I don't take it personally if you're not into what I do. But it's funny, since I started adopting that, I've had more gigs this year. I've probably made more money from shows this year because I've just got this mindset of, I try and surround myself with like-minded people, with people that care about the songs, because that, at the end of the day, is the most important thing to me. And since doing that, I seem to have had subsequently more success, or certainly of the level that I'm at, feel more successful, like I'm accomplishing more than I ever did before, when I actually tried to play the game and tried to do the things that were expected.
Yeah. No, totally, man. That's like what I was like saying was like, when you realize that they don't give a fuck about you, you're like, well, why do I give a fuck about them? That's why I've never paid for the charting thing as part of your distribution. Never paid for that, because I'm like, I'm not wasting, I think it's like 30 quid or 70 quid, depending on how close you are to releasing. I'm like, that's a sale of an LP or whatever, man. I'm not wasting that to go do that. I get if someone wants to brag about selling 14 copies to get to iTunes #1 or whatever the fuck it is.
But that's one of those things that, I won't do it because I just don't. I'm not that over the top promo guy. I'm not the numbers on things like that don't bother me that much. I don't feel I need them to validate what I'm putting out. That's probably a wrong way to phrase it, but I don't feel that it's necessary to me in the way I release. But for the people that do that stuff, it's giving them more content. It's giving them more things to share. I understand it in some senses, but it just it's one of those things I know for me and for you and the other guys, that we talk to and stuff that I think all of us are in the same mindset where it's like we just we don't need it.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, what's the point in wasting any money or time on it,
Yeah, I think there's the industry, and especially in the small country scene we have in the UK, there is like that game and that machine that's in place that a lot of people do play and seem to do quite well, but there's an eventual plateau. What I kind of think is there are other ways to use their kind of structure and the music industry structure of how you advertise, how you promote yourself, and actually find a niche things. And that's what I've really found with like the dark country and murder folk scene and all that shit, is there are ways to kind of co-opt that way of thinking and advertising and reach new people. And that's where I find the most interesting thing of when I'm creating promotions and creating adverts and stuff, because I do want to reach as many people who I think will give a fuck as possible. Like I did that Kickstarter last year where, or was it this year? With Mothman. And I just did it with a Kickstarter of a guy who was releasing a Mothman comic. So I'm like, fucking sound, but you wouldn't think to do that in the industry or in the like ladder of success that people like try and force them to.
That's the important thing, I think, rather than just having, and this comes back to my comments on having a bit more of a positive mental attitude at the minute with these things, is I think you should be constantly trying to learn from anything that's put in front of you. So even if it's not, it can be an artist or a musician or whatever that you're not a fan of, but they might do something that, sparks an idea in your head that works perfectly with what you're doing. And it's like, rather than just dismissing everything that's out there because it's pop or because it's this or because it's whatever, do you know what I mean? I think I'm guessing it's a getting old thing. As I've got older, I remember 18-year-old me going, if it's not metal, I don't give a fuck. Everything is like pure, it has to be my metal that I like and that's it. And it's funny, the older I've got, the more I'm like, oh yeah, hip hop, I'll have a listen to that. Oh yeah. Because the funny thing with a lot of hip hop stuff, and part of my kind of other job other than being a musician is obviously, as you know, working with a venue and getting the young hip hop kids through. What they sing about is folk music. I might not like the way it's presented, but if you listen to the stories and you listen to the thing, they're talking about their lives. It's more real than 90% of metal bands I get through the venue. Not slighting on anyone, but I believe in what those kids are saying more than I do the bands that probably sonically sound more like the kind of thing I like to listen to. So I think that kind of being open-minded to listen to a bit of everything, I think, and learn from everything, whether it be on the music side or the promo side, I think is a really important thing. Like I said, I don't know if that's just me getting old and mellow, but I think it is.
I always kind of think it's, you get to a point where you don't let your ego dictate your enjoyment.
Yeah.
And because I was the same when I was a kid, it was like, if it's not fucking brutal, I'm not listening to it. I remember I saw Lamb of God headline Bloodstock this year, and I fucking love Lamb of God. I didn't listen to them for like 5 years once because Metal Hammer said they were the new Pantera, and I was like, how fucking dare you? And dug in my heels and was like, I'm not fucking listening to these people.
Yeah.
Just because I was a fucking ignorant kid. But I love, like rap and hip hop and stuff, so I've always kind of tried to have that, but then it's not trying to, slag off other people's shit or be like, this is the only thing to listen to. And it is like a really open-minded and freeing thing. And I do think it is because, especially when you're a kid, you have that kind of like, you're forming your own identity and you can't, fuck with that in any way, shape or form because that's who you are. And you can't admit to liking other things because then, well, who are you? And as you get older, your ego's kind of like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy what I want to enjoy. And it's letting that ego get out of the way your own enjoyment.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, when I was younger, because bear in mind, I didn't start singing until I was like in my early 30s. Really, like as in singing like I do nowadays. I just wanted to be Slash. I wanted to be a guitar player. That's what I did. All the bands I was in, I was a guitar player. So I used to watch all these guys, like somebody like Zakk Wylde, perfect example. I always loved his playing, loved his music, like early days, and all I aspired to be as a guitar player was like Zakk Wylde. And I remember I sat down with one of my friends, Lee, who is he's a hip hop musician, and I was kind of working some session stuff with him. And I played him a video of him. There's an acoustic performance of him doing Machine Gun Man, which I don't know if you know that tune from the Pride and Glory record, from an MTV show. And I always watched this performance when I was younger and thought, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. Look at how awesome this is, the guitar playing, the song, everything about it. And Lee, I showed him it, and I remember him doing that thing where he had this face where he could tell how much I was enjoying it, but it didn't register with him at all. And he's open-minded to all genres of music as well. But he said to me, I still believe the fucking word he's saying though. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, watch it. It's like, it's an act. It's acting. It's not him. He's not, he's not writing this from a point of experience or whatever. And I could have kicked him in the face at the time because he ruined my love for Zakk Wylde in one fell swoop. But he was right. Subsequently, what I found, and as I became a songwriter after that conversation, and started to actually write my own songs and stuff, and it's like, it's true. It's the artists that now connect and resonate with me, the people where I believe what they're singing.
Yeah.
I believe it's come from there's a personal experience element to it. Or a genuine love of the subject matter that you're writing. It doesn't always have to be your life, although a lot of my songs are autobiographical in that sense. But, you can still write about other things, but it has to be that you're writing from it in a personal sense.
Yeah, in an earnest sense. And I totally get that, especially with Zakk Wylde, where
you've actually put the time in, researched what it is you're writing about. You've got the facts right of why you want to write that song. And still, adds that extra layer. And I think for me, I've just got to that point now where that's the kind of artist that tends to resonate with me, is where I actually believe them.
Yeah.
And the ones where it feels like an act, they can be amazing performers. Like I've seen some incredible performers, but actually when I stop and listen to what they're doing, I just kind of go, just don't believe it. It's like you're playing a character, you're playing, and I've never got on board with that.
Yeah, no, totally. Like that, I think also goes back to the creation of, like, I don't like using the word content because that sounds like it's something separate to like the art that you're making, when I think that the content, for use lack of a better word, it's meant to be like an extension of the thing. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of like our conversations and a lot of what people don't like about people's marketing and stuff is how insincere and in earnest it is if you see something that comes from an actual place of, this is my song that I really like, this is why I think you should listen to it, and doing something around that. I think they always resonate and do better, but a lot of people miss the mark and think I need to just create something of a spectacle.
I like it when the content, if you will, is almost a little goofy. Yeah. It's like it should be. Bedis and his TikTok is a perfect example. You know what I mean? The stuff mixed in there with his music and the more straight laced posts, it's kind of got a goofy edge to it. As likewise, nothing should be too serious. It is a natural extension of what you're doing. And like for me, I won't force myself to try and make that stuff just because. If I'm forcing myself, then it's not natural, and therefore it's not me. So I understand I should be busier on a promo front, but at the same time, I'm my own worst enemy, because I do that thing where I question myself and go, well, you're making it for the wrong reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
yes, you want to make promo, but you want to make promo in a sense that is natural to you and feels comfortable. So if you, like for you enjoy making the promo stuff. I know you do.
Yeah.
So it's natural, and therefore it comes across as natural, and it don't come across as like you're literally trying to shill everything. But you can wind that stuff in there with it all. It still feels natural, makes people aware of what you're doing, what you've got available. That's how it should be done in my head. For me, I think at the moment I started trying to think about the content too much. In that sense, I would be being the thing that I don't think I am. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally, man. My mental approach to how I create stuff and present myself is, would I say it on stage? And then that like helps me tie it into like the overall, like the gig, the overall music, how it presents live, which I think live is the main focus, as it always should be. Is these songs are written to be like done live, and in between each song you tell stories and stuff, and it's with that, what can I do online that is an extension of those stories? So that's why, like, last night I put up a picture of my cat because I talk about them on stage, like that, where it's like it's easy for me to get into that headspace because it is just kind of, well, what would I say when I'm gigging?
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's stuff like that, and I think not long after that I actually posted a picture of my cats as well.
Yeah,
but it's like that is like, that wasn't a contrived thinking, oh, I need to post some content so I'll come up with something. That was my missus had posted that picture, and I was just like, this is literally what faces me every morning when I have a coffee. Do you know what I mean? And it's giving those little windows that do then start conversations with the people that pay attention to what you're putting out there, and it's posts like that I like. It feels natural. Much in the same with my songwriters and stuff that I like. It as long as it feels like it's actually you, and I'm kind of getting the truth in that element. Not to be too kind of, I'm not super serious about this shit. You know what I mean? You can have fun as well, but
you've got to have like a level of integrity to it. You don't want to just like go overboard with it. No, I get you.
Yeah, and I think I just think it should be a natural extension of your personality. Yeah,
it shouldn't be you trying to force an aspect of your personality that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah. I think that's the key thing, is trying, because people tend to recognize, kind of, I hate the phrase, but recognize real. They recognize, people that are being themselves, and I always use everything goes back to pro wrestling for me, and it's like, if you look at the characters that got the biggest, be it Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock, they were just amped up versions of themselves, and that's how they became huge stars. Do you know what I mean? Because people identify with that stuff, and that's how it should be. It's like, in my head, that's how it should be.
Yeah, no, totally, man. Well, let's zoom back. We'll get to the difficult world and what we're planning for this year, but let's zoom right back 60 years ago when you were a kid.
60 years? Cheeky bastard. Fucking feel it.
What was it that made you like want to pick up a guitar? What was it you were listening to when you started becoming like musically?
First time I saw Ed Sullivan's show with Elvis. Now I'm joking. Like, first picked up a guitar because of Oasis, really. I'm not gonna lie. Because it's, for a kid growing up on a council estate in the north of England in the early 90s, mid 90s, they were the older kids you'd see at the pub on a weekend, but with guitars. And I still rate Noel Gallagher as a songwriter. I always will. I like some of his rhymes a bit rudimentary and stuff, but he's not Townes Van Zandt. But at the same time, I would never have picked up a guitar if it wasn't for them. And then, I know you'll hate this, but then the Beatles as well, because my dad was a huge Johnny Cash fan, Roy Orbison fan, so that was always playing around the house. I remember on the day I bought Definitely Maybe, I also bought a Jimi Hendrix record, which was kind of where my love for guitar playing and stuff came from. So my mum was into Hendrix, and my mum was into Beatles and Eurythmics and decent kind of long lasting great songwriters, but more of that pop and rock kind of thing. And I probably got into blues before I did country, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
That my granddad, I was doing, so it had been when I was like in my teen years, and I was going to a music course someplace, and my granddad came and picked me up one night, and when we were in the car, he put the Radio 2 Blues show or whatever it was on at the time. And just I remember listening to that going, I really like this. And then then looking deeper into my mum's kind of tapes and stuff she used to listen to in kitchen, she had like Blues Brothers. So Blues Brothers, I love that soundtrack, love that film. Just watched it with my kids this week, actually. Yeah, they didn't give a shit, but I loved it.
Was that the first time they were watching it?
Yeah.
And they were just
they made me watch some right crap. So that was just like, you know what, it's my turn. Because the last one they made me watch was Hairspray. And I was like, this is a musical, right? I've got a musical for you. Let's watch it. It didn't really land, but I'll try again when they're a bit older. But yeah, my mum had like Blues Brothers. She had, was it Bessie Smith? She had a Bessie Smith record. And I just remember kind of listening to that kind of stuff, and then digging out vinyls. We had a record player as well, and they had like Fats Domino and Chuck Berry and like the Elvis 56 sessions and stuff like that on vinyl, which I now have adopted. But yeah, just listening to all that kind of stuff. And then I realized actually my first introduction to country music was my nana used to listen to CMT when we used to get it. Yeah, so like that would have predated all of that stuff. But like when I was like 12, 11, 12 and going around her house, she used to always have CMT on. She loved like, the fucking Garth Brooks and all that kind of style stuff, Reba McEntire. And so I suppose that was in there as well somewhere. But yeah, Oasis were the reason I started, and then just kind of developed on from there. And then blues kind of just, everything that I've ever done has always had some blues in it. So it's certainly as a guitar player, I kind of went through the whole, studying Clapton and Jimmy Page and all those guys. Because as I say, I was just a guitar player up until like late 20s, really. And then it was only when I started my band Hoodoo Operators that I really started to sing properly. I'd sung in covers bands and stuff before, but actually singing my own songs and stuff that started around when we started doing the Hoodoo Operators. That would have been about 2014, 15.
And was there a reason behind, like, because I remember like I was a guitarist like for a long time, and then it was literally there wasn't a singer, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'll do. Was it that kind of just by necessity?
Basically, when at the point I joined the band that became Hoodoo Operators, I just had my second kid. I was doing a day job where I just promoted to manager and stuff, and I'd literally got to the point where I wasn't playing barely any gigs. I'd almost given up on music. I just played for fun. My mate said, I'm starting this little acoustic band. I'm going to sing. Do you want to do something in it? And I just bought a lap steel. So I went, yeah, I'll play a little bit lap steel, but I can only probably do, once every other week or whatever. And I started going up and playing lap steel, and it was fun. And we used to sit around and get drunk and basically we rehearsed above a conservative club, even though none of us were conservatives. Actually, I was at the time, but that's another story for another time. But yeah, we sat around. We just played his songs, and I played lap steel, and then he stopped turning up to rehearsals, and the rest of us were still getting together and having a drink and stuff, but we obviously didn't know what we were meant to be playing without his songs. So he sent one of the guys a message saying, why don't you guys see if you can write something? And I was like, well, I wrote a couple of songs, and I was like, well, let's have a go at this. I'll sing it, and just kind of sung. And the whole band just kind of fell out of that. Literally 3 months later, we were playing his first gig. I think a second gig, we then had like a local label interested in working with us. because the resonator player in the band had worked at a studio and had access for free recording time and stuff, by the point we released our first thing, we already had 3 EPs ready to go. And it just all and that's where I started to become a singer and a performer through that band. Also, subsequently at the time, I ended up landing a really sweet session gig, which actually meant I could go and do music full time for 3 years. So I toured all over Europe doing that, but in between the tour stuff I was doing, I then was coming home, and obviously I was writing while I was on the road and stuff.
What did that involve? Who were you sessioning with?
So I played with Maxi Jazz from Faithless. So he had a side project called Maxi Jazz and the E-Type Boys. So between 2015 and late 17, I was just out and touring, playing slide guitar for him.
I'm sick.
So kind of funky, kind of blues, jazz rock stuff. But it was cool because he gave me so many opportunities and met loads of people, and actually realised that I could make a living from music as well at that point. And then the last tour we did with that was December, I want to say December 2017, maybe. Might have been 18. No, 17 it was. And then I came back home, and I think like a lot of kind of session musicians, I'd gone from playing. So the last tour I did was arenas, and I was broke within a month and had no other work. And by the April of that year, I tried to do the kind of the covers pub musician thing, but it was just absolutely killing me.
Yeah, just soul destroying.
Yeah, and just mentally just killed me off. And then around that same time, me and the Hoodoo Operators guys kind of got to a point where things just weren't working. We weren't really on the same page with what we were trying to do. And it just kind of fell apart. So all that happened kind of at the same time. And I was just kind of, at that point, feeling sorry for myself and had a little bit of a kind of identity crisis and breakdown and stuff. So I started my rock band, which I still do now, and it's called CPSD. It's like electronic desert rock kind of stuff. And I started that at the time, but then various things just, cut all my hair off. I changed the way I looked. I didn't pick up my acoustic guitar ever. I literally kind of went and lost the plot a little bit for a couple of years in trying to be something that I wasn't. I went back to a day job for a couple of years. Obviously, then the pandemic hit, which actually gave me all of that back because it sat me at home with nothing but my kids and my guitars and an awful lot of time to go, what the fuck are you doing,
Yeah.
Grow my beard back out. Which is, we all know, is where the power's kept, is in the beard.
It is. It's all the songwriting is just kept there.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jodie better stop messaging me. all the time I'm trying to talk to you, I'm getting little buzzies from him, dickhead. But yeah, and then lockdown made 2 EPs. I think that's where we connected.
Yeah.
Was I kind of came across you guys. I think I saw you playing the Penthouse thing, actually, or something at the Veterans Garage first.
I think, I can't remember, because they had the garage before lockdown, and I think I played something there first.
As you say, it wasn't the one with the fiddle player. It was one where you were on your own.
Yeah. Or was it? Because I think the first Henhouse gig I did was with Sam Mundy. And then I can't remember. I must have done something at the Veterans Garage, but I can't remember what it was. Because
that was the first time I came across you in my feed. And then it was only after that I stumbled across Rogue and everything and sent you a message going, I've got this coming out, kind of thing. And then obviously we chatted and done stuff since then.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, because I was trying to remember how we first crossed paths. And it was through the Rogue Country thing. You were actually doing some fucking promo and messaging people.
Well, this was it. When this was when I did my first EP. and I was starting to kind of reconnect with who I was. And I don't know, it all sounds very fucking dramatic and what have you, but it was just one of them things. I was starting to feel like myself again. I'd started chatting to people who I hadn't spoken to in a couple of years, or people like Jodie from Fargo, and yeah, it was kind of just reconnecting all those dots that I'd kind of just cut off when I kind of split up with the Hoodoo Operators and went off the deep end a little bit. So it was just, as I was kind of coming out, I was like, oh, well, who's this guy? Oh, quite like that. Oh, he does this thing. Oh, and it was just connecting dots basically. And obviously, because there was so much time at home, because things weren't open for gigs or anything, I was actually just sat there going, you know what? I'll send a message out. I'll do this. I'll do that. So I was actually doing promos. Now the world's reopened. I'm like, I don't want to be sat on my phone unless I have to be. But yeah, it kind of, and just things have kind of built and got better for me mentally since then, which lands me where I am now. Obviously, the latest album. I do need to do more on promo. I know I do, but I have a funny feeling we're going to be having this conversation for a long time.
Probably. But I think that is the important thing, and that was what I think the pandemic gave me, because obviously with what Rogue Country is and what Rogue Country was pre-pandemic, like I remember having this conversation with Josh, and it was like literally January, February of 2022 before we knew what was going to happen. I was like, we need to do some online shit, because, you know, gigs aren't fucking the be all and end all, because we're at a level where we aren't making any money. We're not really reaching anyone. So we need to have an online presence that can actually connect people. And that's when we started looking at the radio show. That's when I was starting to think about the podcast. And then, not luckily, but it kind of proved me right, because the fucking world shut down in March. And it was like, well, what the fuck are we going to do? And it was like, we just do what we've been talking about for the last like few months. And it was that thing where it was just, we got to just like switch focus. It wasn't like, oh my God, music's over. It's just, oh my God, music's going to go in a different direction for a while. And that was a really cool thing to see, us starting to connect with people like you and actually trying to build something like online. Because obviously online isn't super real, but it's still better than fucking sitting at home spiraling. And it was cool
and I think the one thing with the online stuff is I have the access to contact, you know, like my top listeners for my rock band are in Argentina. You know, if you'd have put out the kind of shit that I do in 1991, I'd have needed a major record label to be able to reach those people that can now access it. So for all the negatives that surround it, there are also these great positives that, you know, you live Birkenhead, Beddy's Wales, we got Ash down in Cornwall. You know what I mean? Like all of us that have kind of become friends through Rogue wouldn't have been able to. We'd have had to have crossed paths at a gig, and then how would we have kept contact without the internet? Do you know what I mean? It's
man, because Josh can't read all right, so letters would have been out the window.
There you go. So, you know, we'd be sending some kind of pigeons or something like with. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, it's a crazy, man. Going on from, so the first two EPs, was there anyone that you were kind of influenced by, or you were listening to, that made you go the angle that you did with your songwriting and stuff? Because I kind of, in a reductionist way, and it's kind of a compliment, well, it is a compliment, but it's, you know, I kind of call you the UK's Guy Clark.
God bless you.
Which
that's going in the bio.
Which, you know, I use sincerely, because I think you have that like gravitas and weight to your songs, but you also have like a buoyancy that Guy Clark had. He had that like, not everything was so serious and dark all the time. He still had that joy in him and that wit. And like, I think John Prine was the extreme of that wit, but I think Guy Clark, I think, is the most, that always resonates when I hear your type of stuff. Who was it that you were kind of listening to when you started writing those EPs? Because going into It's a Difficult World.
Probably the biggest influence in the weirdest way was nothing that I was familiar with before. It was when Justin Townes Earle died. I saw the article. I'd never listened. I knew who he was, but I'd never listened to his music. Saw the article, because obviously that was midst the pandemic, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So it was literally, and I was kind of, I remember being sat at the kitchen table and just going, I should, out of respect, I
Yeah.
should just have a little nosy, you know what I mean? Because this guy was like my age, and I'd never ever checked his music out. Obviously, knew Steve Earle, knew, you know, who he was, but not his music. And then I listened to his pretty much his back catalogue for about 3 days, just back to back, and was like, holy shit, this guy's great. And kind of as digging through and watching the performances and things on YouTube, because obviously that's the other great thing about the internet is you can see everything, you can find out everything about people in an instant, you know. That was probably the biggest influence on getting me started on those EPs. And the cover of the second EP is, so I tend to do like tribute, the covers are all tributes to other musicians. So like the first one I did is based on an old Robert Johnson picture. The second one is based on Justin Townsend photograph. And obviously the album This Difficult World is based on Johnny Mitchell Blue. But yeah, that was kind of what those EPs wouldn't have been made without, sadly, without him dying. Do you know what I mean? Because I certainly wouldn't have been made in that way, because I think the bare bones of his songwriting and stuff, as I actually delved into, you know, like say his back catalogue, it kind of just, it really clicked with kind of the way that I used to play with Hoodoo Operators and some of those songs. So it was a real natural fit for me to then to kind of go, oh, well, so it's like my whole picking style on guitar. I used to play with plectrum all the time until watching Justin Townsend videos. And then I watched the way he plays, and he's got the same percussive thing that I always had with a pick, but he's got this constant bass thing going with his thumb. And it's like that started to, because I was sat at home and I was playing, I started to finger pick more. And it's got to the point now where I really don't use a pick very much. The very odd song live, dependent on the setting. But yeah, I suppose that was the kind of the key thing that could trigger in my head going. And then it was like, weirdly, a few days later, me and my other half went for a walk in some woods. And she took a photograph of me sat on like a log. I was just sat on my phone. And she took this photograph and then she showed me it afterwards. And I went, looks like an EP cover, does that? And I just went, fuck it, let's make an EP. And like that was earmarked as being the cover originally. I mean, it didn't use it ultimately. But that photograph as well kind of sparked as much of the core idea came out of listening to the Justin Townsend stuff. But that photograph was probably the moment I went, actually, that looks like me. And I've not looked like me for 2 years. You know, I was clean shaven, I had smart haircut, I dressed all in black, and like I didn't look like me. And in that photograph, I looked like me.
Yeah, no way, man.
And that was kind of the trigger to actually start making them.
And did you have any songs written before that, or was it like you were like, I'm gonna make an EP, and then you wrote songs for that?
I had one song, Late Night Insecure Blues. That was the last thing I wrote before I just stopped picking up my acoustic. When I was literally like in the worst kind of mental place, you know, feeling sorry for myself, wrote that late one night, as the name would attest. So that had been sat in my phone, and I think I had played about with a couple of ideas early days, so I kind of knew a bit of a structure, but I didn't really have like any of the guitar parts or the key that I was going to play in. It was just more of an idea of a song, but I had all the lyrics. I had that, and I had one line to the song on the first EP that I wrote about when my dad passed away. And yeah, what kind of came out of picking the guitar up and playing, I remember I started with Late Night Insecure Blues, and then I wrote I'm Tired, which was written literally about just missing playing, you know, kind of a bit of a Tom Waitsy kind of vibe. But even that, I had like a Delta Blues version as well that I did, because I had so much time. I was sat and I was messing around doing slide guitar and stuff, but ultimately went with the Tom Waitsy vibe. And then finished, I just wrote the song about my dad passing came out in about 10 minutes. Where that line had been sat there since it happened, basically, in my phone. And the whole song just came out of that line, and it so that gave me 3. And then it was just it was like floodgates just opened, and various stuff came in. And then, because at the time I was so when I was furloughed because I was back working for my old day job, because it was in healthcare. I ended up back working like 3 months in. So I got like 3 months at home, got all this back up and running, did loads of stuff. But then I actually ended up back in work. And I was one of the guys that I worked with was like anti-vax, David Icke supporting, like, so really frustrating. But out of that came Conspiracy Blues that started the second EP. And it was just one of them things. It's like there's a tune called Another Prison Blues on the first EP that was written about me just hating the day job that I'd had to go back to. And I was literally stood having a cigarette on the roof where I was working. And all the things of this prison story that's in there is about me feeling like I was in like this prisoner going back to a day job and stuff. So it's, all these songs just came out, and then just developed on from there, really. I'm trying to think what else is on them records. I haven't listened to them in ages.
And then obviously that went through into It's a Difficult World, and now you're looking. Are you recording now, or is it you've just got the songs at the moment? You're going to be recording soon.
It's funny because the track listing has changed. I thought I had the songs 2 months ago, and since then I probably wrote another 4 or another 5. So it's like constantly evolving at the minute, and day by day I've got the track listed in, because everything I do is worked on my notes in my phone. So it means when I get the whim to write something, I write it in my phone. And I've got like a working track listing for the album, and it's just my album too. And I think it's pretty much every day I go in and change one out for something else. And so it's like I've got a couple of directions that I'm still not quite sure which way I want to go with the overall sound of the record. There's part of me would really like to make like a properly produced kind of, because my EPs and my last album were done very much vocal and guitar live, and then all the accoutrements added to it, and it jazzed up by the various people that played on them. Whereas I've kind of gone, hey, it'd be really nice to do like a real produced record, you listen to a Chris Stapleton record, and it's got all the lovely sonics and stuff on there. And also there's no electric guitar really on my other records, and I would like to possibly introduce some of that. But then at the same time, I kind of go, but I really like the folksy, and especially more, I've been listening to loads of Billy Strings and like kind of, that kind of bluegrassy elements. That was one of the things I always loved about Hoodoo Operators, was the energy, the bluegrass vibe of it. So at the minute for me, it's trying to get my head around, am I just going to do a record that has a bit of everything? Or am I going to do a record that's in one style and then save the other style for something else? And I think once I've nailed down exactly what style, well, it's going to be me, but what presentation of the songs I want it to be, that'll be kind of, then I'll finalize on what tracks I want to do. And I have been chatting to Liam that produced my album, and I think I'll probably be doing it with him again, just because I've known the kid for years, and he seemed to just really kind of nail what I wanted from the last one. And he's a killer bass player as well, so it's handy to have as part of the team. But yeah, I mean, I think the songs are there. But then there's also the part of me goes, I think there might be a couple more in my head that just aren't quite out yet. So I think I'll probably try and start it. I'm reckoning around January time, I think.
Cool, man.
I just want to give it chance to kind of, am I at a point where I'm done with songwriting at the minute? Because I go through these phases where I'll just, and I would never call it writer's block. But what I call it is, right, I've no songs in there at the minute. And just when I'm empty, that's the time to try and get out the stuff you've written. So yeah, I'm kind of provisionally in my head thinking starting that in like January, I think.
Yeah. Cool, man. I always try and like just draw a line under shit because I've got about 16 done. I'm going to do 8 for the record, and I think I've picked the 8. But it is one of those things where, like, with the next life, because I had like songs coming out as I was starting to like write and be like, this is going to be the record. And I was like, no, like fucking from, I think I started recording in 2018, 2019. I was like, any song after that will be the fucking next record. So I draw like lines under shit. So any songs will be record 3 now that I'm doing now, unless something really, really, really good pops up. But I doubt that.
Well, that was the thing. It's a difficult world. The song was literally the last thing written for the record. It was written literally the week I was going in to start tracking. I'd already recorded it coming back this time because obviously I did the EP that I abandoned and stuff and used that take. So that was kind of already going to be on the record. I kind of already had songs in my head, but yeah, It's a Difficult World was written literally the week of going into track. And the version that's on the record, I think, is about the second or third take of it ever being played all the way through, kind of thing.
Yeah, nice.
So it is one of the things that I have no doubt something else will come out. But I try not to force it. I try to let it's like everything else. I try to just let it be as natural as possible. The record will end up sounding like it's supposed to sound. Yeah. You know what I mean? Cool.
No, exactly, man. But we can't not talk about what's happening in a couple of weeks. This is coming out on Monday the 20. What's the date today? 23rd. So this is coming out on Monday the 26th. So we've got a couple of weeks before, our little mini tour.
26th of. Oh, will this be out 26th September?
Yeah, this will literally be out on Monday coming.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, quick turnaround.
Look at that. Yeah. Tell your friends. We've got. We got Nottingham, Sheffield, Bradford. Yeah,
the 14th, 15th, and 16th of October. But have you done? Because obviously you've been touring stuff. You did a few shows with Grave Dancer, kind of mid. That was June, wasn't it? That was
So I did,
it was meant to be January, but it got pushed to June.
Yeah, I did 5 with him in June. Yeah.
And have you done much touring? Because obviously with the pandemic and stuff, it's kind of only really been last year going forward that you've actually got out to like play these songs and stuff.
I did do a run with Willie T. Taylor.
Yeah, you did Willie T. Taylor
last year. Yeah. So I think we were out for, because I padded that. So I had 4 dates with him, but then I padded that with my own dates as well. Yeah. So I think we ended up doing a little run of about a week or so. And it was likewise with Grave Dancer. I think it started out being a week with him, but then I ended up just with gigs getting added and stuff. I think it was pretty much a full month. I ended up being
I remember that poster just being stacked.
But yeah, nothing was planned, so it wasn't like I was going town to town. It was like, go to this town, come home, get a gig off, and go out kind of thing. It was bizarre. It's like I think I played Sheffield more times this year than the rest of my career going. But yeah, I like getting out. I mean, the worst thing for me is that I don't drive.
Yeah.
But obviously now I'm embracing sobriety, hopefully, then I am going to get on top of that at 40 years old. But yeah, that's one of those things that I think needs to happen, just because it is. Yeah, I love it. I love getting out, and that weekend with those guys is going to be cool, because it's like, all of us kind of getting together and actually, like I think you described it, like the Heart One Highways kind of idea of that getting together with songwriters and just kind of chatting and playing, and me and Jody do it quite a lot now, because obviously I do bits and bats with Fargo, and like I say, I spend so much time in Sheffield. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool little weekend, and it's going to be cool to meet Ash.
Yeah.
For real, in the real world, just get out and play some songs and see what people think.
Yeah, man. No, I'm really.
It might be an absolute disaster.
It might be, but I think the odds are, it's not going to be as shit as it could be.
Yeah, maybe the Saturday because Betty's is there, but
yeah, but that's the fun thing, man. Because like the first time I met Bettis was at a songwriter round. We played Devices down south, and it is one of those things. And now, kind of in 28, no, that happened. That was January 2019 was when that was. And it was one of those things where it's like songwriter rounds, you kind of just get thrown together. This is the first one where it's like we've known each other for long beforehand.
Yeah.
So it's like it's more of like its own thing. It's not just, a few people who kind of know each other. This is like people who chat shit on a group chat on a regular basis are getting together to actually play songs and stuff. And I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Yeah. And I've only done the round thing once, and I was kind of paired up with a very, very young songwriter who, it wasn't my kind of stuff. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that was just like, there was no conversation there to be had. No, you can't. You know what I mean? You kind of, with all the respect in the world, I think when it's going to be like-minded people like us guys, I think we're probably gonna. I think it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be entertaining. I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to. Is it's like that's why I was like liking it to the Heart One Highway. It is a lot of songwriters who are gigging and stuff in their own right.
Yeah,
coming together to just kind of celebrate the songs and have a fucking hangout and chill and just like have a catch up, which I think is going to be like the funnest thing. And I'm thinking that's going to be what like people like relate to when they come to it. It's going to just be a fucking big hangout.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's one of them things I like. I like the kind of conversational aspect of live shows. Certainly when I'm doing the solo thing, I think there's time and a place for band things and stuff. But when you're just kind of bearing your songs, it's nice to have that kind of rapport with the audience. Now, if you can do that in a conversational sense on stage and include the audience, then I just think it should be be cool. It should be fun.
It's definitely like the community aspect of like Rogue and stuff that like has shone through, and this is kind of a real world showcase of that, which I'm really looking forward to. But obviously you did the tour with Willie T. Taylor, you did Brave Dancer. What did you see? Were you expecting like a crowd reaction when you first started going out with these songs? Did you really know what you were hoping for or what you thought people might react like with these songs?
It's going to sound really selfish, but I literally had this conversation with Jody because Jody was saying when he writes, he always writes with what the bar's going to do in mind.
Oh yeah,
and, when he's writing his songs, it's like he can picture, visualize how people are going to respond to certain things in his songs. Whereas for me, I'm just the most selfish songwriter ever. I'm like, do I like it, and do I feel I can sing it over and over and over again?
Yeah,
and I was happy with the record. It sounded, I think, the happiest I've been with any of my records. That I was really happy with the way it sounded. I was really happy with everybody that played on its performance and the vibe of it. I was happy with the songs. I was happy to go play the songs. So I didn't really know how people would react, but I also didn't really care. And I know that's how, I don't mean to sound like a dick, but the cool thing out of that was people seemed to really like, the so many compliments on various songs, on the record. And, I've had a lot of criers this year as well. I know I play sad music and I know I'm a bit shit, but yeah, I literally last Saturday I played in Sheffield and had another crier.
Was it to Ain't Coming Back This Time?
No, I've had people cry to that one in the past. I did the one about my dad, which I very rarely play the song that I wrote about my dad, but I did have somebody cry at that one once. The one was an old song of mine called The Glow that I wrote about my next door neighbour, which was actually, it was a Hoodoo Operators single way back, but it was just me and a banjo on the single that we put out and a fiddle player. And basically it was just, I always tell the story about my neighbour and stuff before the song. And it was that one this week. But yeah, I always kind of go, I feel sorry for the person who's obviously identifying with whatever the sentiment is, but at the same time, it's like, oh shit, you're actually paying attention,
Yeah, man, that gig we did at the Salty Dog was the first time I made someone cry with a song, and you are like, fuck yes. Like, it is like, because you want to move someone. Yeah. It's not you want to make someone cry, but you want someone to be paying attention, and you want someone to be paying attention enough that it moves them the way you wanted to move them when you created that piece of art.
Yeah. I know I played when I was depping with Fargo the other week. So it was like a private, like, birthday function and finished the set. And there was a young guy came over and requested them to play the well, which is one of my favourites that they do. It wasn't in the set list because, I'll be honest, Jody was hanging out of his ass, so I didn't want to sing it. But this guy said, no, you've got to play it. It really means a lot to him, and told him afterwards about his relationship with his brother and stuff like that related to why he loved the song. And it's like those instances, those are the ones that when I say, if a song's good enough, it'll get where it's supposed to be. That's exactly it kind of showing itself in that the person that needs to hear that song at the right time will get it at the right time. And if the song conveys the emotion or conveys the point across that's identifiable for the person who's listening to it, it's, you know what I mean? That's the dream, isn't it? When you write something, is that it'll connect with people.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
And there we have it, folks. That was the mighty Chris Dover. Go check out his album, It's a Difficult World, right now. Then come hang out with us on October 14th, 15th, and 16th in Nottingham, Sheffield, and Bradford. It's going to be a completely different vibe to our normal shows. It's going to be so much fun, and we would love to see you there. We might even do some recordings of it for posterity. How about that? But yeah, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Go support the things you love. Go back Alex Connolly's Kickstarter, Siempre. And yeah, keep supporting the things you love. Keep doing the things you love and stay safe. Till next time. Peace.